Fair enough. Fair enough.
I just saw the gears turn in your head and the lights go on in your eyes.
Yeah, because I was like, as I said before you said that, I was like, I clicked on the hangout. I was like, okay, well,
That's
nope,
okay.
no worries.
Secrets are happening here at the PCC.
You got it, man. No worries. And we're back with another episode of the Cosmic Crossfire. Any comments?
Every week, it seems to be some sort of different setup, some different segue. The intonation, it's always in the upper range. Just got to bring it back down to earth for such a cosmic discussion.
Well, I'm just trying to pep it up a bit. It is the Cosmic Crossfire. My name is Gerald Glass from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We thank you for listening. And it wouldn't be a Cosmic Crossfire without the man, the myth, the legend behind all the great films that you can catch more information on or direct links to on robmccallumfilms.com. It is Rob McCallum. What's going on, my friend?
Oh, just another day in paradise, to borrow a line from your playbook, if you will.
That one is going way back, probably well over 100 episodes with Game Source and definitely many with Pop Culture Cosmos.
Well, it was quite intentional. I tell you that for sure. Life is good, man. Life is good. Just kicking the tires, getting things going. A lot of freelance options. Still working with Digital Dreams Entertainment and the Mutant Football League guys. We're working on something for the big console release coming up, so stay tuned for that. Of course, lots of news for He-Man, and Kitty isn't that far away, and who knows what else might be in the works for Rob McCallum Films, as Gerald's left eyebrow raises involuntarily as I mention such things.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? There's always a project stirring. There's always a percentage of something that could happen. You just never know what might transpire.
That's true. That's true indeed. A lot of great stuff. Definitely want to check it out on robmccallumfilms.com. Get all the latest updates, or Rob McCallum Films on Facebook as well.
Yeah, and I do promise at some point I will actually do a new post, a new update. And I think someone pointed out to me last week that my Instagram link on robmccallumfilms.com isn't accurate since I changed my Instagram handle. But I will do what I can to get all that stuff up to snuff now that I'm a little bit more back in the saddle after I finish my last contract and have a little bit more free time to communicate with the masses.
The masses, indeed, because one thing I first realized is just how well you are out there with the people as far as social media, especially when you were interacting heavily with the progression of Nintendo Quest, and as far as taking it from finished product to actually selling it out there to the masses, and that you had to really dive in 100% and be there and be extremely active during the course of that whole process.
It's just part of the shtick. It's part of the deal. It's the fun part when the film is done and you actually get to start sharing it and talking to people and doing interviews and having conversations and getting deep into the nuts and bolts, not just the surface discussions. So yeah, that's the part I like, the exhibition, the here, check this out, let's talk about it kind of phase, as well as, oh, wouldn't this be cool? We should make this film phase, which is perpetually in motion with Rob McCallum Films. Evidently, there's always a green light on somewhere.
Yes, there is indeed. And I'm just glad that you were able to talk to me on so many occasions, and I was able to not only correlate that in both writing on several outlets, but also as well get the opportunity to talk to you in many different podcasts about the development of Nintendo Quest, but also become a part of the Nintendo Quest Power Tour, which you can catch where?
McCallumFilms.com. You can get your physical media versions of both Nintendo Quest and Nintendo Quest Power Tour. But if you do a Google search, you'll find links to Vimeo pages that have digital versions of that. Of course, Amazon, Comic-Con HQ. If you're in the States or in Canada, if you're in Canada and you're looking to check it out broadcast, Super Channel has a secondary gaming channel called GinX, G-I-N-X, that is getting lots of heavy rotation for Nintendo Quest and the Power Tour as well. Plus, there's some UK options now coming around the corner, too, that we're looking forward to announcing.
Sweet, indeed. Definitely something to look forward to for fans of Rob McCallum, and also those who want to dive into exactly what he has done with all of his projects as well. So you've got a lot of great topics, man, that you wanted to go ahead and talk about. So what, pray tell, is on your mind when it comes to pop culture?
Well, I got 5 topics lined up this week, and it's very nice of you to say they're great without actually knowing what they are. Let's just hope they're great. You set the bar a little high already, Gerald. Come on now, come on. We're gonna set that bar
I'm
low.
an optimist, man. I'm
We've
an
got 5
optimist.
discussion points. Hopefully, some of them will resonate with our cosmic listeners, our cosmic cousins across the podcast airwaves. Hopefully, they will find something that speaks to their soul. Maybe, maybe not. For the last 10 days or so, Marvel has said there's 20 more films that is set to come out after Avengers 4, or at least on the development slate.
They sure love that Vanity Fair. I'll tell you what, they just will spill all the beans to them or EW at a moment's notice.
Well, they always get the cover, don't they? And there's
It's all
also
about the
rumor.
payola.
Yeah, there you go. The payola. Not the paella, the payola. And there's rumors that the Marvel Universe in those films might get more cosmic as they continue to roll out and maybe explore some of the characters that are less Terra-based. That's a fancy way of saying not from Earth. My question to you is, with 20 more films and, at least another decade, considering most of this started, 2007 was it with Iron Man? So, and we've had, 22 films since then?
I think it was 2008 with Incredible Hulk and 2009 with Iron Man.
I thought Iron Man was first and then Hulk because Tony Stark was in the end credits of Incredible Hulk.
He was.
And I thought that was before.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It goes flip-flop, but I think...
You know what, Gerald? I'm
Iron
not
Man
the
is
host of the Pop Culture Cosmos. I'm just a guest on the Cosmic Crossfire. What do I
you
know?
hush, man. You hush. Iron Man, it was 2008. And then there you go. It's a flip-flop. Excuse-moi.
You're excused. My question to you, with 20 more films for Marvel, regardless of the direction that they might go, regardless of who might be the core characters of those films, those tentpoles, will Marvel's ongoing presence always be a blind source of optimism for DC films to exist? You know what I mean? Like, with a constant output of Marvel films, will DC, by proxy, always continue to make films as well? Because if Marvel can't be the only game in the town, so we might as well keep making films too.
I think DC Films is always going to take a stab at it. Warner Brothers, as long as it holds the rights to it, is just going to keep on throwing darts at a dartboard and seeing what sticks. Yes, the answer definitely is, as long as Marvel's out there trying to still introduce new characters within the Marvel Cinematic realm and still keep that flowing for, like you said, at least another 20 films and possibly another 10, 11, 12 years down the line. I don't foresee DC not going about. In fact, how many times over the past year have you or I, Josh or I, or so many other podcasts and news outlets reported on or talked about a various DC tangent as far as a film is concerned, whether it's a spin-off, whether it's an anthology, whether it's
never discussed it,
prequel or whatnot. It's all over the place. So while Marvel has 20 more that they're already for sure lining up, DC might have like 50 more that they're trying to think up, and maybe 10 or 15 of those will actually come to fruition.
Yeah, I think the major difference is, well, 2 things. One, I don't think that despite the number of characters that DC does have at their disposal, I don't think they're as universal appealing past that core, second tier of Justice League characters. So I worry about how well those will do when their core characters aren't doing that well, and how much they get invested in there. And then by like the association property, if Marvel films start to tank either from severe industry waning and superhero spandex burnout, or because they just aren't picking the great characters to do the best kind of stories anymore, and we're getting to the C and D level heroes, and the Marvel movies stop, does that mean the DC movies finally stop? So Marvel is always setting, they're always the pace car?
I see it as the opposite, as far as if there should be a superhero fatigue or a Marvel fatigue, like you said, because the characters don't adapt well to audiences. I see DC, at least in the short term, if that should happen, trying to pounce on that opportunity with very well-known, solid name, from Superman, Green Lantern, what have you, something that people seem to really know and associate, and try to jump on that. But with Marvel's history, with characters that are not as well known, i.e., Black Panther, i.e., the Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, that are not as well known within the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the general audiences out there, and that they've struck gold with all three of them, I wouldn't bet against it. I mean, Captain Marvel's coming up. People are excited about that. And a lot of people didn't even know Captain Marvel really at all before the movie was actually even mentioned.
Well, I think I put Doctor Strange and Black Panther on the same level as character importance as Iron Man. They're all B kind of characters, B title
Well, you
characters.
put it
Same
to
with
me,
Thor.
but I'm telling you, Iron Man was
I
more
get,
well known.
I get it, but he's not. He was never a traditional character by Marvel in the forefront. It was always Captain America, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man. Those were always like the flag bearers of everything that was Marvel. Iron Man was definitely a tier below, which is why when it came out in 2008, for some of us that don't know, there was concern about whether it would perform well enough, whether they could turn that hero into a big enough character for people, because he wasn't all that popular in the mainstream in the same way that their other characters were. So when I kind of wonder about characters like Namor, is he popular enough? The Submariner, or is he more of a sea character, or someone like Pip the Troll? Is he big enough? Silver Surfer belongs to Fox because he's part of the Fantastic Four line. Would he ever get his own film? So there are like characters that are just a little bit below the Iron Man scale that I just don't know if they would hold their own weight.
But there's also time to create some new ones as well.
I'm not sure. We'll have to see how it goes, and we'll revisit this topic, I'm sure, between now and the next 10 years. But for now, I wonder what Marvel and their success will dictate in terms of what DC can do, or if DC is just doing their own thing regardless of Marvel. That will be the interesting thing to see. Okay, now I hear you.
Okay. And remember, you said Iron Man was in 2007.
Well, that's when it was filming.
Got an out clause then. That's an out clause, man.
Well, I'm a filmmaker. I think of when things are filming.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. A couple trailers dropped in the last few days. That, of course, being Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom and Avengers: Infinity War are out. And this kind of rounds up the big three trailers that I think most people were expecting this year, with, of course, The Last Jedi being the other one in the three. They all represent billion-dollar franchises that get trailer marketing this year. I don't think there's anything else that anybody is waiting for to see or would anticipate more than those three films. Question is, thinking back, which pre-trailer announcement were you most excited for? When they said, okay, the Star Wars trailer is coming out here, Jurassic World trailer, Avengers: Infinity War is here. Which one were you the most excited for, and why?
Well, obviously, I was excited for Star Wars: The Force Awakens when I heard it was going to be coming, because the Star Wars
I'm
universe.
talking about like Last Jedi though. So before the Last Jedi trailer hit, compare that excitement to the excitement before Jurassic World's trailer, the sequel for that, The Fallen Kingdom.
I would probably say the Infinity War, because we've spent and invested so much time in the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I would probably say at this point in time, even though I had a great anticipation for The Last Jedi, I would definitely say the Infinity War would probably be the one I was most curious to seeing and most excited for, because I have spent so much time watching and enjoying and trying to understand the interconnection in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with all these stories loosely trying to tie in with each other, and create a larger narrative. So definitely for me, it was Infinity War.
Oh, wow. That surprises me. I thought for sure we'd be on the same page where that was the least exciting, given that it's just another superhero romp against a villain who wants to end the universe or end everything on Earth. I thought for sure that despite the 20 films that have led up to it, you would have just been, you just would have known it would have been the same thing over and over and over again. So that takes me by surprise. For me, in reverse order, it's Avengers, Star Wars, and Jurassic World. I was the most excited for because I think of the three concepts, it is the least known what they're going to do for a sequel to that. I mean, sure, dinosaurs go crazy, people get scared and run is part of it all, but above and beyond Jedi versus Sith or good guys versus bad guys in spandex, I think that concept of what could the sequel to Jurassic World be has much more possibilities. It has a sci-fi bent on it. The world and universe is getting much bigger now for Jurassic World and what that means in terms of a narrative. So I was much more excited for that. Does that surprise you?
No, because you've been a much bigger fan in the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park whole franchise than I've been. To me, I've never gotten that hook. I've watched them, but I've just never gotten a hook. I mean, I don't go out to the theaters to see them. I either see them on home video or actually when they finally have broadcast television. That to me, that's something I'm just not enamored with.
What a
Man.
crime!
Sorry, man.
What a
not
crime.
every pop culture series hooks me, man. Sorry.
I don't even know if we can continue the Cosmic Crossfire at this point.
Oh, yes, we can. It is a crossfire. Remember, you said we can't all agree on everything.
Yeah, but there's agreeing, disagreeing, and then there's just lunacy. You got to see those films on the big screen.
No, not really. They're just dinosaurs, man.
Oh, my goodness. They're just people. You talk about the Avengers. They're just people in colorful costume with CG superpowers.
Okay. Like I've always said about Jurassic Park is a great slasher movie.
Okay.
It's just you replace the scared teenagers with individuals, scientists in the park and whatnot, and they just get knocked off one by one by one. That's why I've always said Steven Spielberg is just one of the best horror directors that's been out there, because he is able to disguise his films better than anyone as far as its true intent or its true meaning, and be able to pass it off in a PG-13 type format. And he does it in such clever ways. And Jurassic Park, I think, is one of his best examples where it's just, they just dinosaurs pick off people one by one by one,
yeah,
just like a slasher film.
It's exactly like Frankenstein, right? Where you essentially create the monster and then it comes to get you.
Exactly.
I don't disagree at all. But it's also that blend that the material has with science, and you see the science and the reality and the awe and wonder. You get to see the positive side, and you get lured into the same dream and vision that the characters have. So like that's the hook, where it's like, yeah, you can see why the characters are making the decision to do this thing, and then as you fall hook, line, and sinker into that vision, you become trapped by the same pitfalls that behold the characters. That's what makes that great. Can you imagine if Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street had that same kind of that hook to it? They just don't. But I mean, you look at something like Aliens, and it's the same kind of thing, right? Close encounters in terms of quarters, can't get out, the monster's out there, but you're the one that went and knocked on the monster's house, and you wanted to go in it. What do you think is going to happen? Game over, man. Game over. Same type of thing.
But it gets even that serious, as you've seen with the dwindling box office numbers. People have burnt out on it, and with Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, that era, Jurassic World did a tremendous amount of money, and I'm not dissuading that in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, that was a huge hit. $1.6 billion, I believe, was the total off the top of my head of what it earned, worldwide. That is nothing to sneeze at. But for me, it's just something that I'll catch it on TV or whatnot. But the series in itself, I've seen it before. dinosaurs, they're created, they get angry, they start eating people.
That's like me saying I've seen Star Wars before because I've watched a Western or I watched Flash Gordon.
Well, you could say that with The Force Awakens, but
Well, Force Awakens I've seen before when it was originally called A New Hope.
as have I. So, and I'm not going to tell you differently from that.
There you go. Anyways, I hope everybody out there that checked out both Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and Avengers: Infinity War can weigh in on what their thoughts were. If they're more excited for those trailers compared to The Last Jedi, which came out the last couple months as well. Those are the big three towers, though, for trailers.
Although I will say Jeff Goldblum I love him in his role as far as in the Jurassic films. I'm glad. I believe he is returning to the role at this latest.
Ian Malcolm makes his return in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
So I give him props for that. So
there you go. Who doesn't like Goldblum? You got to love him in everything. I haven't seen Ragnarok, but I hear he's pretty good in Thor Ragnarok.
You haven't seen Ragnarok? See, there you go. That's the best Thor movie of them all by yards, by miles, and you haven't seen that one.
No, I haven't. I'll just catch it when it's on broadcast TV. You know, whenever it comes out, no big deal.
To each his own, then.
To each their own. Parks and Rec is over, of course, and NBC announced that props from the series are now on sale. So if you want a piece of that series, that show in your life and everyday nightstand, then you can purchase some props from the set and the series. And it made me start wondering, and this is maybe a question that would be reserved for the glory days of GamerCast, but you know, if you could have any prop from any TV show, what would that be?
That is an excellent question. I would probably say, just off the top of my head, would be probably whatever model was used for the Star Trek Enterprise in the original Star Trek series.
Wow. It's funny. I was thinking Trek too, but I was thinking like a phaser or a communicator.
There you go.
Cool. Do that just one more time. Yeah, that's going to be my ringtone now, or my text alert from you specifically. I'm going to sample that noise.
There you go.
Do that. There you go.
Would be
I don't know. I can't think of anything else that would have something that's really cool and unique right off the top of my head in terms of a prop from an actual live action show. Or
Starsky and Hutch's vehicle, the Gran Torino. I'll take that too.
Oh, I'd take General Lee over that if we're talking cars, or Kit from Knight Rider.
I'll take the Gran Torino. Although it will actually, I think, made an appearance in Ready Player One. If you saw the trailer, I think you saw a quick.
Yeah, the General Lee definitely makes an appearance.
Well, I think the Ford Torino does as well.
Oh, well then. Did you read that book, by the way?
I did this year. It's I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I went the audiobook route with as dictated by Will Wheaton. It was pretty good.
Will Wheaton, Sal Villa from Mario Party Wars saw him the other week at the Unrivaled event here in Vegas. So he was geeking out at it, which I guess him being the man among legends in pop culture, I guess is the case. So
I guess. Where do you think? Obviously myself and our good friend Jay Bartlett and a few other people that are big collectors. Where do things like props sit in scope of collection? Are those like the best of the best kind of collectibles that you can get, or are they just outside of it? Like, if you were to kind of rank a hierarchy of things that one could acquire in terms of collectibles, where do on-screen or screen use props sit, do you think?
They should go up very high on the list, if not at the top of the list, because you're talking about something that is rare. Because if they're going to only have, let's take for instance, you're talking about the Kit car. Yeah, okay, they might have had other cars, other Kit cars, but there was a few, like General Lee. There would probably only be maybe 3 or 4 cars that they use the entire series, maybe a couple more. But even then, that's a rare product. That's a rare thing to have. With any of the props that you would see on a television or film type deal. So definitely, if you could get some type of, not maybe a certificate of authenticity or some way to authenticate it, that would be at the top of the list. Because with collectors, that's you got to have the rarer the better, the more valuable the better. And if you're talking about pop culture stuff such as that, pop culture iconic films, television series, and whatnot, what better way to collect and have something that is not only valuable but memorable than a product from the actual show or film itself.
What would be higher than a screen use prop? So let's talk Star Wars specific. Like, what would be a crazier collectible to have than like Luke Skywalker's lightsaber?
Probably the signed contract where Lucasfilm signed over everything to Disney.
You think that would be more collectible?
I think it would be more interesting to have.
Well, that's not what we're talking.
I think it might be more collectible, yeah, because I don't think there's too many of those suckers lying around either.
Yeah, but just because it's rare doesn't mean that it's collectible or desired. You ask the average Star Wars fan, what would they rather have, the Disney contract or Luke Skywalker's lightsaber? What do you think they're going to want to display?
But with Luke Skywalker, how many of those? It's the same thing. It's the same thing about it. There's not too many of those either, and it would be extremely valuable. But you ask me what might be more valuable. I don't know. In other words, there's not too many more things that are more valuable.
I didn't ask what was more valuable. I asked what would be more desired. What would be better?
More desired? For me, I'd probably say it's the contract, just because I could see all those signatures there, and it's like that's you get right there. Not only is it the actual contract, but you can actually have the actual signatures right there. So you got that autograph going there. So plus it's worth $4 billion right off the bat. And I know it's not.
You're a madman. You're a madman. I won't even ask you my follow-up. You're a madman.
What is your follow-up? What is your follow-up?
What would be one below a screen use prop in a hierarchy of collectibles?
It would probably be, well, I don't want to say autographs, because autographs, as you know, they get, you go to cons now, you pay $20, $30, $50, $100, you can get the autograph of your choice. So it's kind of watered down a bit. Like, let's say Rob McCallum. I've got a great signed Rob McCallum and Jay Bartlett right here.
Ironically, I couldn't find my signature on it when I saw it last month.
I know. I was like, where is it? Did I sign it? Like, it's right there, Rob. It's right there. But anyways, I would say right below that is just those rare pieces, those Star Wars toys. If you can get some of those rare Star Wars toys that Kenner put out, very early on, or wasn't it the pre-order thing where it was just the pop-up as far as telling
the mail-aways.
Yeah, those are rare and those are desired. So yeah, something like that would probably be really cool to have.
Okay. I got no comments. I was just curious to see what you'd think. Just curious. That was my follow-up.
But if the contract, if Disney wants to mail it over to me at their end of it, or George Lucas, I'll send them my address.
Right. Director Chris McKay, back to the world of DC filmmaking, is looking
and reality too.
Director Chris McKay, back to the DC universe of movies, has announced an open casting call for Nightwing, aka Dick Grayson. He's basically looking for anyone as long as you submit through an agent to the studio. Is it smart for DC to go after a lesser-known actor for a character or a second-tier Batman associated character? Should that be an unknown star, or should they try to bank on a more familiar face?
I would probably say no, but then again, I'll probably give you a better answer after Solo comes out.
Well, I think there's a world of difference between casting Han Solo and casting Nightwing.
No, they're both iconic figures in pop culture.
The difference is Han Solo has been cast as somebody before, so he's always going to be compared to Harrison Ford.
But so would Batman. Batman won't be compared to the better Batman's not the worst.
But this is not Batman. This is Nightwing. This is Robin.
Well, I understand.
He might get compared to Chris O'Donnell, but like.
Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, I'll give you that, because Nightwing, like you said, is Robin, is Dick Grayson, and there really hasn't been.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, he's never been cast before. He's never had his own movie before.
But you're trying to sell a movie. That's what put at the basis. If you're talking about financial decisions here, you got to go with a name actor, somebody that can sell a movie, somebody that can go on those interview car washes, as they call it, and just be able to put out the spiel, how much they enjoyed being on the film, and be able to tell people and communicate why it's such a good film, rather than go with somebody that's an unknown entity. I would, if you and I are bankrolling it, I think you and I would come to an agreement that it would be someone that
I
would
don't
have
know.
to be well known.
I don't know that I would. I
Unless they have
don't
that
know.
real it factor.
I mean, I look at stuff, casting decisions like Brandon Routh. I didn't think he was a horrible choice for Superman. I think that script was necessarily, not the ideal Superman script. I think he was fine, and he did what he had to do in that role. I look at Hugh Jackman. He wasn't the first choice for Wolverine, and he was an unknown star when he came into that as well. I look at the cast of Star Wars. They were all unknowns, essentially save the secondary supporting characters, the Alec Guinnesses, the Peter Cushings of that film. So there's a lot of good examples of unknown, heroes, of course, being cast and making their mark.
But Nightwing, man, that's not exactly, like you said, it wasn't exactly the highest of properties that are well known among a general audience.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is, if you can cast Wolverine as an unknown, you can probably cast Nightwing as an unknown.
But with
get away with like the sheer Batman factor to make it interesting for audiences.
Was the Wolverine correct me if I'm wrong, X-Men movie came out first, correct? Before any Wolverine standalones.
Right, but Wolverine has always been the fan favorite when it comes to X-Men characters. And Hugh Jackman was not known at all. I'm trying to remember who they originally had slotted for that role, and I can't think of it for the life of me.
But then again, it's different because he was part of an ensemble cast.
But it was his story.
X-Men is a more well-known entity within the realm of pop culture than Nightwing is.
Yeah, but Hugh Jackman was the unknown cast member of that entire team, and that film was much more about Wolverine and Rogue to a lesser degree than anybody else was. So it really was their story, and every film after that has essentially been about what is Wolverine doing, or what is his role within in the larger events there.
Because
and
I think
an unknown.
Because I think Fox was so smart enough to realize that they've got a great thing going. They realized that what he brings to the role, and realized they better center their universe around him.
But they cast an unknown to get to that point, is what I'm saying. They didn't hire Tom Selleck to be Wolverine and say, we're going to play in this universe around Tom Selleck.
No, but wasn't Tom Selleck considered for a Han Solo at one time? I think
he was, and they didn't cast him because they wanted a relatively unknown actor named Harrison Ford.
I don't think it's totally apples to apples, because again, it's part of an ensemble. But all right, I'll give it to you. It's for me, I'd go for a well-known entity, especially with the financial investment you're making these days on these films.
Well, then who would you cast as Nightwing?
That one I'd have to think about. I mean, they're talking about Jake Gyllenhaal as the new Batman. I would not put him as the new Batman. I would say he would be more apt to be in that position for Nightwing. But there are probably younger actors as well that might fit the role. I don't want to say Tom Holland because I think that's an easy get. But Eddie Redmayne, the Fantastic Beasts actor.
Wow, you see him as Nightwing?
No, just throwing it out there as a name. There could be several actors out there. Maybe even go off a different slant. Donald Glover.
Liam Hemsworth.
What?
You can go Liam Hemsworth.
Oh my gosh! There you go. that's off the beaten path. But I would say like somebody like Donald Glover, who already has is well known, and already as well has someone that has an audience, something to look at as well, as if you really want to go into a really cool and different direction.
Don't know that. So he was just cast as Lando, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that probably takes him out of the running.
Why?
That's my guess, because it's often really hard to schedule shooting for two blockbusters at the same time.
Yeah,
so
that's true. And
he's a really hard balance.
And he is in the Spider-Man Sony universe. He's going to probably participate in that down the road for more Spider-Man movies.
There you go. Well, let us know what your thoughts on who should be Nightwing. Should it be Michael J. Fox or should it be Tom Selleck? if this was 1986.
Yeah.
The last topic is something I wonder if you caught in your research through the week, Gerald, and that's some quarterly earnings reports for GameStop. Did you happen to catch some of that stuff?
Yep, they're always fun to play with as far as hearing what they have to say, the various things. Because a lot of news, the best thing about listening to these GameStop comments that they make is that they see things in the video game world from their perspective. It isn't always 100% accurate as far as the entire base of what sells, what doesn't sell, what's good, what's not good. But it's interesting to see how from a GameStop collective they see it, and how actually their consumers actually are taking in these products and how they're also selling it to them as well.
Yeah, I think the thing that's jumped out at me, and I noticed this on goodness, did I go out on Black Friday in Canada? I think I did. It's been a while, Gerald. I apologize for the delay there. I actually found myself shopping at a mall on Black Friday in Canada. It's not quite what it is in America. It's the metric version, so it's not as crazy. And I was at an EB Games, which is what GameStop is in Canada. And this stat rang true when I read it recently, and that's that video game sales went up when GameStop in Canada and in other locations specifically switched store geography to have over 50% space for collectibles. So the more physical collectibles, Funko Pops, board games, tchotchkes, T-shirts, hats, lunchboxes, Lego sets, all that stuff. When the floor space, when they dedicated 50% or more store space to that, their video game sales actually went up compared to what the stores that are just video game libraries, essentially, or 90%. What do you think about that?
I'm not surprised because where are they located? In shopping malls, strip malls throughout North America, EB Games or GameStop. And now these days, if you go to a GameStop, the design and the plan as you walk in fact, I went on one too at Black Friday. I happened to check it out and see what's going on. And also Thanksgiving as well. I hopped in on both days to two different outlets. And pretty much what you hit when you cross through the door, the first few aisles or the first 1/3 to 1/2 section, as you say it, is nothing but collectibles and things of that nature. And basically they devote only wall space to the actual physical games themselves. So I think it's a very shrewd idea. I think it's also, they learned that quickly after their acquisition of ThinkGeek, that there really is a place for collectibles right now within the consumer marketplace, and that they really, really want to go ahead and push that aspect of it. Because the brick and mortar, as you know, over the years since we've known each other, the brick and mortar style of game stores has kind of faded with digital sales and things of that nature. So GameStop, much better than, well, other game store entities that have died in this century. In fact, that I worked for one as well that unfortunately met its demise. But they have tried to find alternative sources of income. Tried selling cell phones. They tried selling other equipment, things of that nature. And then now they're going into game related and pop culture, consumer related products, like you said, Funko Pops, collectibles, what have you, shirts, jackets, things of that nature that appeal to those individuals when they're going in and looking for games. So I'm excited to hear that GameStop is doing better overall because of it, and that their video game sales are going up. I'm hoping they'll reinstate that policy that they had about the rental program that they were contemplating and that they actually introduced and kind of pulled back on. I'm hoping they'll reintroduce that into the marketplace, because I thought that was a very shrewd idea as well. So I'm hopeful for GameStop, because I think the video game industry will continue to need GameStop and those brick and mortar stores for the years to come. I know in doing Game Source podcasts and Game Source and yourgamesource.com for all those years, we were seeing the demise very, very quickly of GameStop and those brick and mortar stores, and we were spelling the doom off and saying, a year from now, 2 years from now, there wasn't going to be any more GameStops. But I'm so happy to say that GameStop as an entity has found ways to try and not only keep it alive, but still maintain a solid structure and a presence out there to gamers everywhere.
Yeah, but what can you draw as a correlation between decreasing space dedicated to games and watching the sale of those games increase? How is that possible? What are your thoughts on that?
I think people are now starting to go and migrate to these stores to go check out what great collectibles they have.
But it's not like it's. I'm not saying their overall revenue is up, which it was. I'm talking just the video game sales.
Well, no, I'm
adding on to that. Is up.
I'm adding on to that is that the fact I think that they're using those collectible sales as a way to draw people in now as well. And while they're there, they're going to go ahead and, oh, by the way, I guess I'm going to go pick up that 4 for $20 deal that they always like to do with their used games, or whatever, pre-order the latest game, that because I know they're huge on pre-orders still within the industry. So definitely that's something that I think is now being treated. It's kind of a different scenario now when people, when certain people, a small amount of people go in there now looking for the collectibles first and using the video games now as an add-on. It's definitely a unique concept. Still, yes, most people go there just to buy the video games, but it's nice to see that people are going there now to check out what collectibles that they have that may or may not be exclusive. And then, oh, by the way, they're picking up a few games as well.
Yeah, and I guess that's the only counterpoint I would have is I think EB is still like only known as a video game store, and this experiment hasn't been, proven for that long to say that people are seeing it as a collectible destination first, and they just happen to buy games because they're there. People are going there to buy games first, and now they have all these other options that is a part of a new experience. So I'm not sure that either we have enough data or enough understanding of why that's working. I mean, the investors of EB and GameStop are certainly excited about their $50 million extra profit compared to $9 million a year ago, quarter to quarter.
Well, I think it's all because of that acquisition of ThinkGeek and the way they were able to incorporate that and mesh that with GameStop. I don't think they have meshed that as well yet with EB Games, because I don't hear it associated, even when I look at more at an international or broad basis. Well,
the ThinkGeek stuff is everywhere in Canada. I can tell you that. Okay. I literally got a Black Friday exclusive ThinkGeek Funko Pop that was only available at GameStop.
Well, there you go. But I think that ThinkGeek and GameStop, at least in the U.S., I know they've become a little bit more symbiotic with each other. Maybe that's the reason why. So I'm not sure if that's the case with EB. It sounds like they're still separate entities for the most part.
Well, maybe we'll find out what's going on and see if the space for video games dwindles even more, and if that increases sales, or if they stay at a 50-50 ratio or not. That'll do it for the Cosmic Crossfire topics. We talked about the future of Marvel films, 20 more, and will that continue to dictate DC? Talked about trailer excitement now that we have Jurassic World and Avengers Infinity War trailers out there. Parks and Rec, props on sales. What TV show prop would you like to have in your collection? The open casting call for Nightwing, aka Dick Grayson, and GameStop sales up with less store space given to them.
Well, that's something I'd like to add on to real quick, is because you and I both, care for our good friends at Retro City Games, Doug and Nicole, and I think that maybe they've were just a strict video game store first when they first opened up, and they didn't want to. In fact, we had touched briefly on this subject before in the past about looking at other options. They didn't really want to go into other options, but you go in that store now, there's a wide array of stuff for that can pique any interest. For my girls love the collectibles that they have there. They have DVDs, things of that nature there, and there's just a wide assortment. Board games that they've even taken in and started selling as well. So definitely they've caught on to the mix and realized that in order to not only survive but thrive as an entity, I think that they have to reach to all those outside sources and really make it more appealing to a broader audience.
Well, it'd be interesting to ask Doug and Nicole when you have them on the store next, or on the show next, what they think about the plans for their store, how it parallels or diverts from what GameStop and EB Games are doing, and what the future of that space might hold.
Awesome indeed. But yes, you can definitely catch. If you really want to ask, if you want to ask us some questions about today's Cosmic Crossfire, no problem at all. Just send us an email. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Humanica Media, and Rob McCallum Films on Facebook. And then I think you have a Twitter as well.
Yeah, it's at Rob McZob.
Gotta love that. I just wanted you to say that, Rob McZob, because I just, that one was a cool Twitter handle.
There you go. Thanks.
All right. Well, that does it for this edition of the Cosmic Crossfire. Again, check out all the great stuff on RobMcCallumFilms.com. Rob, as always, my friend, it's been a pleasure having you as part of the Pop Culture Cosmos and, of course, the Cosmic Crossfire as well.
Love it, as always, and we will tease viewers now by saying when we go off the air, I get to pick your brain about something off the record.
There you go.
Your gears are turning already again. I see I'm seeing you light up. Who knows if we'll ever get to talk about it. Stay tuned to the PCC to find out, though.
And as I always say, the hamsters are definitely running around in the habit trail.